Acts chapter 25. Paul appeals to the monarch Agrippa. Festus arrived and settled in the region. After 3 days, he proceeded from Caesarea to the holy city, Jerusalem. Now the supreme priest and the Jewish authorities made their accusations against Paul, and they appealed to Festus to kindly assist them by ordering that Paul be taken to Jerusalem, while they had schemed an ambush to kill him along the road. But Festus replied that Paul should remain in Caesarea, for he was actually proceeding to Caesarea soon. And he said, "Let your authorities proceed to Caesarea with me and press charges against the man if he has committed any offense." And Festus stayed with them 10 days or thereabouts before he proceeded finally to Caesarea. Arriving in Caesarea the next day, he sat in the court of judgment and instructed that Paul be led in. Paul entered the place, and the Jewish authorities who had come from the city of Jerusalem stood there and made many weighty allegations against him, none of which they could prove. But Paul spoke in self-defense. "I have committed absolutely no offense against the law of the Jewish nation, or against the Holy Temple, or against Caesar." But the governor Festus, wishing to do the Jewish authorities a favor, asked Paul, "Do you have any objections? Do you have any objections to proceeding to Jerusalem and being judged there before me regarding these allegations?" And Paul declared, "I am standing now in the presence of Caesar's seat of judgment, where I should be judged. I have committed no offense to the Jewish people, as you know quite well. For if I have violated the law or have committed any offense deserving capital punishment, I do not wish to elude it. But if there is nothing true in the allegations they make against me, nobody can deliver me to them. I forward my appeal to Caesar." At that point, Festus consulted with his bureaucrats and advisors, and then he replied, "Paul, you have forwarded your appeal to Caesar. You shall therefore go forward to Caesar." Some days later, the monarch Agrippa and Bernice visited Caesarea to welcome Festus. After they had been in Caesarea for some days, Festus presented Paul's trouble before the monarch, saying, "There is a man in this place who was left a captive by my predecessor Felix. And when I visited Jerusalem, the Jewish authorities, leading priests and elders, made allegations against him, seeking a judgment against him. But I told them that it is not the practice of the Romans to hand over anybody charged with an offense until he has met the victims personally and has been given a fair opportunity to defend himself fully against the allegations." And so, when they assembled immediately, the very next day I was seated in the judgment hall and ordered the accused to be led in. Those who had charged against him got up. Those who had charges against him got up, but they did not charge him with any of the heinous offenses I expected they would charge him with. Instead, they had some disputes with him concerning their own religion and about a person called Jesus, who had expired. But Paul maintained that he was alive and lives forever. And because I was not exactly sure how I could obtain information on such issues, I asked whether he had any objections to proceeding to Jerusalem to be judged over there regarding the allegations. But Paul made an appeal. He requested to be kept secure and to allow Augustus judge his case. So I commanded that he be kept secure until I could dispatch him to Caesar. Agrippa told Festus, "Surely I'm quite interested in hearing this man." And Festus replied, "Agrippa, tomorrow you will definitely hear him." And so the next day Agrippa and Bernice came in their royal majesty with great splendor and glory, and they entered the auditorium with the armed forces and the noblemen and authorities of the city. The governor Festus ordered the forces, and Paul was escorted in. And Festus gave a speech. "Your Highness Agrippa, and everyone who is present in this assembly, you see this person against whom the entire Jewish nation, both in this city and in the holy city of Jerusalem, has made allegations to me. They yell that he was not qualified to exist any longer. But when I discovered that he had done nothing worthy of capital punishment, and that he himself forwarded an appeal to Caesar, I decided to send him over. But at this point, I have nothing basically to write concerning him to Caesar. Therefore, I have here and now presented him before you, and particularly before you, Your Majesty Agrippa, so that after careful examination and study, I may proceed and write a report. For it appears unreasonable to me to dispatch a captive without clearly noting the allegations against him.